Oğuz Atay was a pioneer of the modern novel in Turkey. His first novel, Tutunamayanlar, appeared 1971–72, never reprinted in his lifetime and controversial among critics. It has become a bestseller since a new edition came out in 1984. It has been described as probably the most eminent novel of 20th century Turkish literature. This reference is due to a UNESCO survey which goes on. It poses an earnest challenge to even the most skilled translator with its kaleidoscope of colloquialisms and sheer size. Quote, "In fact, 2 translations have so far been published, into Dutch, as Het leven in stukken, translated by Hanneke van der Heijden and Margreet Dorleijn, into German, as Die Haltlosen, translated by Johannes Neuner. A translation by Seven Sadie, as The Disconnected, is scheduled to be published by Elric Press early in 2017. An excerpt from this won the Dryden Translation Prize in 2008-99. Life. There is a full-length biography by Yildiz Esavit Ben Buradim. Oğuz Atay was born in October 12, 1934 in Anadolu, a small town in the center of the Black Sea coast, 590 kilometers from Istanbul. His father was a judge and for a time an MP in Ataturk's parliament, his mother a schoolteacher, thus both representative of the modernization of Turkey brought about by Ataturk revolution. Although he lived most of his life in big cities, this provincial background was important to his work. He was at high school in Ankara, at TED Ankara College until 1951, and after military service enrolled at Istanbul Technical University, where he graduated as a civil engineer in 1957. With a friend he started an enterprise as a building contractor. This failed, leaving him valuable material for his writing. In 1960 he joined the staff of the Istanbul Academy of Engineering and Architecture, where he worked until his final illness. He was promoted to associate professorship in 1970, for which he presented as his qualification a textbook on surveying, topographia. His first creative work, Tutunamayanlar, was awarded the prize of Turkish Radio Television Institution (TRT) in 1970, before it had been published. He went on to write another novel and a volume of short stories among other works. He died in Istanbul, December 13, 1977, of a brain tumor. He spent much of his last year in London, where he had gone for treatment. He is buried in Edirne Martyrs Cemetery. He married twice, and is survived by a daughter, Osh, by his first marriage. The literary works are now all published by Iletişim. Topographia, a textbook for students of surveying. Tutunamayanlar, Telikliyoyanlar, Berbilim Adaminan Romani, Mustafa Inan. Korkuyu Beklerken. Translations. French, as Engetantla per Italian, as Aspettando la Para, with a brief afterword by Orhan Pamuk. German, as Warten of Die Angst. Oyunyala Yasayanla. Gun Luck. Ilembalam. What he had hoped would be his magnum opus, Türkiye'nin Ruhu, was cut short by his death. It is not known what form he intended for it. Influences and achievements. The secondary literature, mostly in Turkish but also in German and English, is very extensive. See, for example, the report of a conference on his work, Oğuz Atay Megan, with some 150 contributions and a bibliography of over 500 items. This brief account does not attempt to summarize this material. Atay was of a generation deeply committed to the westernizing, scientific, secular culture encouraged by the revolution of the 1920s. He had no nostalgia for the corruption of the late Ottoman Empire, though he knew its literature and was in particular well versed in divan poetry. Yet the Western culture he saw around him was largely a form of colloquialism, tending to crush what he saw was best about Turkish life. He had no patience with the traditionalists who counted Western culture with improbable stories of early Turkish history. He soon lost patience with the underground socialists of the 1960s, and, although some good writers, such as Ahmet Hamdi Tanpınar, had written fiction dealing with the modernization of Turkey, there were none that came near to dealing with life as he saw it live. In fact, almost the only Turkish writer of the Republican period whose name appears in his work is the poet Nazım Hikmet. The solution lay in using the West for his own ends. His subject matter is frequently the detritus of Western culture, translations of 10th-rate historical novels, Hollywood fantasy films, trivialities of encyclopedias, Turkish tangos. To the fracturing of Turkish life that corresponds the fracturing of language, the flowery Ottoman, the artificial purified Turkish, the rank colloquialism. For the West Atay took one of his favorite motifs, but so changed as to be new intercourse between people as playing games, the free games of love and friendship, the ritualized games of superficial acquaintance, the mechanical games of bureaucracy. Since the publication of Tutunamayanlar, many Turkish novelists have broken away from traditional styles. First the slightly older writer Adale Agaroglu, then others including Orhan Pamuk and Latif Dekan.